Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second match of our triple header here today on the CCA League channel. This match will be between the UCF Night Sharks and the Drexel WyrmWind. My name is Jay Slosh. I'm joined today by Raphael.
Hi, I'm Raphael, and I'm just really excited to see what's coming out of these two teams today. To my understanding, Night Sharks was a second place in Div 1 last season, and then they're up against WyrmWind, who got first place silver bracket in entrance exam just a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, in fact, WyrmWind was actually the team who got second in Division 2 last semester, so we actually have two second place finishers for this season ready to battle it out to redeem themselves.
True, true. Two big heavy hitters. I remember we actually went up against WyrmWind, and I think they definitely have what it takes. I am excited to see the action coming out of these two teams tonight.
Yeah, looks like our first map will be Splat Zones on Hagglefish Market. Probably one of the more balanced map modes in the game, a great starting point for today's match. My personal opinion on this map would be that I enjoy bringing backlines and mid lines to this one for the extra range that they provide. But what are your thoughts, Rafi?
I think we're definitely going to see some long range, probably like E-Leader, Hydra, that type of thing, because it's just such a strong position to put them on tent, where they can watch both flanks at once, and pretty much at a moment's notice they can just fire straight through the zone. Probably what I'm most interested to see is the pole. I think that pole is going to be really, really impactful on the meta of the game. How about you, Jay?
Yeah, I think that pole in the middle of the zone might actually be able to provide a little bit of cover from those chargers. And it'll be interesting to see how this change in the map will affect the way these teams play.
Definitely the big N they're balancing. Let's see how it plays out. I do think if Tri Nouveau catches on as much as I'm expecting to, I do think we'll see a lot of silly brawls and skirmishes around it in the middle, because it's not just long range that it affects, but also, like, if you're in the zone, you can't paint the entire zone standing in one spot now. There's going to be a lot more movement going on inside of it, probably.
Yeah, for sure. I've actually seen Explo have some success on this map as well, and I think if we do see one, it could be successful in sloshing over that pillar. But
Not
let's
to
get into
mention
this
just
match.
going over the two flanks. I think Explo's in a really strong spot on this map.
All right, we do see that charger coming out from the Night Sharks, as well as an A-leader from the side of the WyrmWind. Grace on that junior, as I had expected, as well as Hoken on a junior. We're seeing actually almost a mirror match here from these comps.
I'm really interested to see what the Nova does. I can't say I've ever seen it pulled out in comp before, but with a lot of tracking capabilities, I think that's going to be really good just for keeping an eye on their flanks. And we see that WyrmWind goes down one right at the start, and specials coming out of Night Sharks really putting them into a corner here.
Yeah, it is technically 3 down on the side of WyrmWind right now, even though one respawned. Night Sharks able to take a quick control of their enemy's court here after a minor disadvantage state at the beginning of the game. Specials were ready from the Charger and the Junior here as Night Sharks is preparing to make a strong hold.
Night Sharks have a really nice rhythm keeping WyrmWind in lockout right at the start of the game, but with 3 specials to answer of their own, WyrmWind might be able to flip the zone back in their favor if they manage to get out of their spawn.
Yeah, unfortunately, losing their major retake special in that tri-strike when the 10 attack trades will make it to where they do have to stall a little bit longer. Junior approaching the zone here with this whale as cover, being able to put down that bubbler, and WyrmWind looking to flip this zone and try and get control, which they do, able to put on that penalty onto the Night Sharks, able to stall that out just a little bit longer, trying to take control of the game here.
That was a really nice retake from WyrmWind, but unfortunately Night Sharks just answers right back with a wipe, flooding into WyrmWind's plat here, and even taking their tent. It's going to be really hard for them to build up the specials required to push back into mid.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that tri-strike. It looked a little bit early, didn't seem to find almost any value. And now this machine is going to be pushed out by that 10 attack. 2 specials are now online for the WyrmWind. and they're starting to get out of their own plat. The Tri-Strikes are coming out, but a Booyah is coming out 2 down on the side of the WyrmWind, and that penalty for the Night Sharks is completely gone.
Again, really nice rhythm of special coordination coming up from both teams here. WyrmWind almost worked their way back in the zone, but Night Sharks just had the resources to answer right back. They flipped the zone right back in their favor and just lock out WyrmWind, and it looks like that's game 1 going to Night Sharks.
Yeah, that was a very impressive hold. Every time that WyrmWind tried to push back in, Night Sharks was patient. They let them burn away all their specials, took down a player or 2, and then pushed right back in with their own specials straight back into that lockout. They didn't really care that they had that penalty point because they knew that they could just hold that zone with those specials and with the pressure that the Charger and the Machine especially were putting on. So a very well-played game by the Night Sharks there.
I definitely agree with that. They just showed really great knowledge of when to back in, when to back out, when to go in. Just avoiding overextending, you know, giving space to WyrmWind to spend all their specials whenever they needed it, and then they would just fill the void right back once the specials went offline. Yeah. Looks like game 2 is going to be Tower Control, Sturgeon Shipyard. This is a personal favorite of mine. I just really like the dynamic of, I think we need more gimmicky stages with moving parts like the spinner over here. It's a really interesting terrain condition for short-range weapons to play around when it's up, and just the different routes it allows into enemy snipe. I want to see. Am I right in thinking that one of the teams did pull out Tri, or is that a little bit of Mandela effect right there?
I don't believe I saw a Tri-Slosher last game. It was a couple of 10 and Techs as the main slayers of those teams. But I could definitely see the Tri-Slosher being pulled out here, as I believe WyrmWind has run Tri-Slosher in the past.
Yeah, I believe Grace runs Tri-Slosher, but I would like to see it come out on this map. I'm not one to speak of. I'm not a Tri player. I don't know how viable it is and what maps it likes, but I feel like any Slosher, once you get it out on that snipe when you're pushing into enemy court, that's just a really impressive position for them to be in.
Yeah, as a Tri-Slosher player, I do get to speak on this, and Sturgeon Shipyard is definitely one of my favorite maps to play Tri on. It has a really nice time taking spinner, especially away from Chargers who are a little bit out of position. It has a really easy time defending enemy snipe, and then being able to move up, especially with the new kit, with the Fizzy Bomb and the Tactic Cooler, being able to provide a little bit more long-range pressure than it used to, could be a very good pick here.
I'm also interested to see if they pull out that Nova again. Nova, like I said, it's just one of those weapons I don't see too much of. They were really good about coordinating their specials around its whale in zones, but with how that game ended for them, it'll be interesting to see if they shake up their comp going into game 2.
For sure. I think considering that it is tower control on this map, it's going to be especially important to defend that second checkpoint, as there are only 2 checkpoints on this map, and moving that tower in between all that high ground between the first and second checkpoints is a very difficult thing to do if you don't have a full lockout. So I think it's going to be important for each team to make sure they have a couple of players alive at any given point in time so that they can defend those critical positions.
Definitely. I also find that this map tends to snowball really hard. Once you get past that second checkpoint, I believe, it's almost a straight shot to goal. You know, once you get a solid hold of checkpoint 3, at that point, you just have your opponent completely locked into their spawn.
Yeah, for sure. And as we get into this game, I'm curious to see what we're going to see from these 2 teams. Okay, we do see the Tri-Slosher coming out from Hoken and from Grace. As you predicted, the Tri-Sloshers are coming out on this map, as well as some area of effect weapons like that machine, like that blaster, and an interesting pick in the Squiffer.
I'm very interested in the 96 Deco. That weapon kind of screamed top tier right from the start, and I think it's a really fun one to watch, especially with Kraken being so new in the game. Night Sharks getting a full wipe on WyrmWind right out of the get-go. Their Tri-Slosher getting positioned under their drop here. Getting a pick on WyrmWind's Tri-Slosher, and he's sitting on that tap whenever they need it. That'll be really good for extending their push further.
Yeah. The Night Sharks just pushing all the way into WyrmWind's spawn here, consistently spotting them, not letting them have any space. The Kraken is coming out to keep them away from tower just a little bit longer. The second checkpoint is about to break as the range blast goes down, but it's now 2 down on the side of the Night Sharks. That's a full wipeout. WyrmWind managing to defend that, defend the game after that first push, but it's going to be a tough road for them going into the rest of this game.
Definitely, definitely. Morale might be low for them, but if they manage to keep their heads straight, it's very much possible to take the game back. They get a double pick right here, and it looks like they're getting set up to pass checkpoint 1. Try picking off in right pocket again, and it looks like he has his sights set on the charger.
Yeah, the try is going all the way in, now on a 5-6 kill streak, but the tower is down, so there's going to be a little bit of a stall on the objective there. Getting that tactical going, but I'm wondering if they were just a little bit too slow to push in here because they went back to tower. As I say, that 2 go down on the side of the WyrmWind, and this push will not be going much further.
That said, it looks like they are going to extend it as far as possible. That charger holding the front lines really tightly. He unfortunately gets picked off. And mid control goes right back to Night Sharks. Machine getting a pick on enemy try. And they're sitting on 3 specials here. Blaster does get the pick on Machine, unfortunately. And it looks like with specials of their own, WyrmWind isn't going to let Night Sharks get that far.
As we say that the Tri-Strike coming out from the Night Shark charger, able to find the pick on the range blaster, finds another pick with the main weapon on, I believe that was a Swiffer, now a full wipeout as Night Sharks prepares to make another potentially game-ending push, this time with no checkpoints to clear.
Yeah, it looks like no checkpoints to clear. Oh, the blaster on WyrmWind picking off the charger, but unfortunately the Kraken on the tower manages to push it right to goal, and game 2 goes again to Night Sharks.
Yeah, just a really powerful push twice in a row from the Night Sharks, for both starting off with a full wipe onto the WyrmWind, allowing them to just push straight into WyrmWind's spawn and keep them there. And then, of course, the game-saving Kraken at the very end, allowing the Night Sharks to get that knockout, because nothing the WyrmWind had to clear a Kraken off the tower with only 2 points remaining. So it was a really well-played game by both teams.
Definitely, definitely. I really liked seeing how it felt like that was a really full send aggro comp right there. Of course, with attack on both sides, you're going to see more aggression, more fight picking than you would otherwise. Really exciting game right there. I'm looking forward to see what they pull out on us in game 3.
Yeah, I'm curious if WyrmWind is going to opt to keep that Tri-Slosher, seeing as how it did some real work for them on their push with that 6 kill streak. But now we're going to Rainmaker Hammerhead, and I might have to eat my words because such a linear map as this might not be so favored for the aggressive weapons.
Probably not. Probably not. If I had to guess, we're going to see the return of that E-leader. Maybe even the crab tank. I think it's still very much in the cards. I'm not sure how much fresh season has shaken up crab tank's iron grip on the meta, but I guess I'll see.
Yeah, we definitely will see. Rainmaker Hammerhead being, of course, a very linear, very kind of one-dimensional map. Means we're probably going to see a lot more displacement specials to move the opponents instead of those more aggressive pushes. I expect we might even get double triple link strike from the Night Sharks, who have already run a both the ZF Charger and a Tenatech. I'm curious if we'll even see a Booyah Bomb on that side as well, just for the extra movement options.
And of course for the stalling capabilities. On such a linear map, just being able to lock your opponent out from your retreat or from your, access points on a defense, that's going to be really, really huge here.
For sure. Yeah, I was about to say something about the ramp being a choke point, but kind of the whole map is a choke point. So you have to have a way to force your way through, and each team will probably try and go about that slightly differently, as these teams are switching out players left and right, trying to figure out what they want to do.
And on the subject of choke points and forcing your way through, I think we're probably going to see the return of the 96 Deco. Kraken is a really great special for doing exactly that, forcing your way past enemy lines. I'll be interested to see what sorts of strategies they develop around that weapon.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that. Kraken, of course, being an invulnerable special means that it's really hard to push back, unless you kind of have your whole team shooting at it, at which point you're kind of ignoring the entire rest of the enemy team. So that actually might be a viable solution to this problem. But I'd like to bring up that we do see Billy here on the side of the Night Sharks, who last season made the all CCA first team, and who we weren't sure was going to be coming back this season, is going to be returning to the Night Sharks for this game. It's a really amazing player all around. So the Night Sharks are bringing out their big guns.
Definitely, definitely. I'm interested to see this Billy myself play. I wasn't able to catch too much of last season's streams, but I've heard great things about him. And it looks like both teams are nearly ready.
Yeah, with, of course, Rainmaker, you've got whoever picks up the Rainmaker instantly turns into a long-range death weapon, but that's alright. I have nothing left to say as the game starts here. Let's see what each team brings.
So it looks like Night Sharks pulling out ZNF Charger and a 96 Deco, and again WyrmWind pulling out their 96 Deco again. So that's two Krakens on both sides here. WyrmWind not actually pulling out any significant long range of their own except for their 96. So it'll be interesting to see how they play their opening here with no anchor to hold down the lines.
Yeah, something else I'd like to point out, as two go down on the Night Sharks, never mind, WyrmWind about to start a huge push here. The end zap, which I was going to mention, going down a full wipe now on the side of the Night Sharks. WyrmWind getting to take this first checkpoint for free with 3 specials online.
And getting a bubble out on Night Shark's ramp. That's a really important choke point right there that they just have completely under their control now. Unfortunately, it looks like they aren't going to be able to pop the Rainmaker in time, but they still have Night Sharks more or less pinned in their spawn. So let's see how far they can bring this push here. The Kraken's online, but it wasn't enough to take out the Rainmaker until the Tri-Strike comes in. It looks like Night Sharks is flushing WyrmWind out and pushing them back into mid.
Yeah, Tenetech there, or that was 96, sorry, having trouble with that junior, able to take out the 52 gal. Not what I was expecting to go down there. Now it's a 2v1, sorry, for the WyrmWind's advantage, as the bubble goes back up on that choke point, trying to break through and make something happen here. Rainmaker really far ahead of their own team, guys, and that's what it's calling.
Possibly. It looks like Night Sharks is rolling back out to mid, but not without trading that 96. Unfortunately, or not unfortunately, they still do have the numbers advantage, and it looks like they're rolling back out to mid, gearing up to take that first checkpoint of their own. With a Kraken online and a double coming out of the Rainmaker, let's see how far Night Sharks can take this.
Yeah, that bubble on the block there, not going to be able to do much for them because the Kraken decided to just walk in there and get that pick. Tri-Strike now coming out from the side of the Night Sharks as they push up this ramp. Teammates clearing the whole path in front of them. The lead has now fallen to the Night Sharks as the Rainmaker barely goes down.
Very explosive pushes from both teams here. Well, yeah, explosive pushes from both teams here, but Night Sharks is not over yet. They're still looking to bring their lead even further. They're watching those drops, they're getting those picks, and they're just not giving up any ground to WyrmWind. Really nice play coming out of the 96 Deco here.
Yeah,
and he's still at it.
Yeah, 96 just going off, finding so many picks in so many places. Even about to finds the Tetra release. The Rainmaker pop is going to be threatening the other 96 on the side of the WyrmWind. Night Shark's just able to hold his position for so long. It's now 3 versus 3. Special advantage in favor of the Night Sharks with the Kraken online. But nobody has yet picked up the Rainmaker. As I say that, Oaken picked up the Rainmaker. He's going to run it. Is able to get just a couple more points with the help of the Kraken, but there's another Kraken on the field as the Night Sharks are now 3 down, and WyrmWind is finally going to have their opportunity to push out of their own spawn.
They have an opportunity, but with a lot of time taken off the clock by Night Sharks, to just that tenure of WyrmWind's respawn. How far will they be able to bring it far enough in time? Rainmaker getting closed in from 2 sides in mid here, and now Night Sharks outnumbers WyrmWind 3-1.
Yeah, only special online for the WyrmWind for this defense is currently that Bubbler, which isn't going to be able to do much, especially against a Kraken that is online, I believe, for the Night Sharks. 96 is actually getting picked off by that Charger. Looks like he ends up was trying to chase down the Tetra release, but gets picked off by the 52. But it's a bloodbath here in mid, as everybody's trading for everybody else. But out of all these trades, Night Sharks comes out on top with solid control over mid and seemingly no intention to take the Rainmaker right now.
It looks like they might opt to stall it for the rest of the game. Bringing it back to that left pocket, that's going to be a really hard position for WyrmWind to get some momentum out of. Oh, a double coming out of Army there with the Rainmaker, I believe. And a wipe. 10 seconds left on the clock. That looks like that is game. Game 3 going to Night Sharks again. But that was a really great. That was some really good action coming out of both teams there. A lot more explosive than I would have thought given the map mode. But as we saw, there was still a lot of stalling and going on when Night Sharks had WyrmWind and Lockout. That was a really good play. Possibly the standout play of the game, in my opinion. Just with how long they had WyrmWind locked out from mid. That was really impressive coordination from Night Sharks.
For sure. With WyrmWind's initial push going so far, I had thought that they would be able to hold the lead for a little bit longer than they did, but the Night Sharks just came back swinging, and to continue with the analogy, kind of hit WyrmWind straight in the jaw with that continued push, just holding them in their own spawn. Night Sharks now only 1 game away from taking this entire set in a clean sweep.
They are only 1 game away, but I think WyrmWind still very much has the ability to take at least 1 game for themselves. I would be surprised if they go the set without taking at least 1 game off of Night Sharks. We saw in that last game, yes, Night Sharks had them in lockout, but they only won the game by a 5-point margin, I believe. The score was 33-28. So WyrmWind has displayed that they are capable of they're capable of winning. Little brain fart right there.
Yeah, for sure. And if it's gonna happen on any map, it's gonna happen on Clamblitz Scorched Gorge. Such an aggressive favored map, even with the lack of flank routes that Scorched Gorge has. Just the ability for any team to get a pick, maybe 2, on a slightly out of position enemy and just roll that straight into the basket on this map could be very good for the WyrmWind if they can just find those crucial opening picks that they need to get a push going.
Definitely. Scorch is an interesting map in that it's really open around mid, but there is only 1 option to push in Clamblitz. Unless you count the Great Bridge, which is almost a death sentence unless you get a full wipe on the enemy team. So I'm expecting to see a lot of brawling going, just a lot of fighting and skirmishing going on around mid, but I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure what to expect, actually.
Yeah, really, there's a lot of things that can work on this map. I've seen, I believe it was 6-star wanted level, a different team who plays in low level has been successful on this map with very, very aggressive options. I've seen teams play like a backline and 2 mid lines and be perfectly fine. So it's really up to these teams as to what they're going to play and what they're most comfortable with. WyrmWind, however, needs to come up with something that's going to beat the Night Sharks, or else they are about to be out of the set.
If I'm expecting we'll probably see that 96 deco. I don't think they've benched it once since they pulled it out for the first time. And on a mode like Clam Blitz, Kraken is going to be a really strong special. Night Sharks pulls out 96 deco and Stamper, and we actually see WyrmWind opt for an Octobrush and Tetradualies. Really interesting picks here coming out of both teams. And I'm looking to see what they cook up with that super chunk of theirs.
For sure. Tetradualies already going down. I believe that was for the Charger. The NZAP getting threatened here on both sides by the 52 and the Stamper. Not able to find the surprise pick there, but it is 1 down. Okay, 2 down now on the side of the WyrmWind. A 3v2 advantage for the Night Sharks as the mid fight continues. The Tetradualies going back, and the Kraken finds the pick on the Octobrush.
Yeah, so with 2 down on the side of WyrmWind, and just the special and clam advantage on Night Sharks, it looks like they're probably going to get the first score of the game in here. Unfortunately, WyrmWind wipes out Night Sharks so they don't get anything past 80. So WyrmWind's in a good position here, where they're going to have that penalty clam. If they play their cards right and manage to keep Night Sharks at bay long enough, they might be able to swing back with an even harder push of their own.
For sure, all they really need to do right now is maintain this control of mid and not go down, because they will have special advantage and they will have player advantage if they keep this up. But as I say that, 2 players are now down on the side of the WyrmWind as Grace here is getting pushed all the way back into spawn, not going to be able to fight this as a junior. And I'm not sure where the tournament ends at is. But oh, Brush finding a nice pick there on the 52 gal, getting behind him, gets 3 kills, and might even be able to find the quad on the Stamper. Not able to find it, but WyrmWind is looking to make a strong play here if they can just find this last pick.
They finally get that Stamper out from behind them, and with a bubble right in front of the net, they're gonna bring the score all the way to 39 before their push ends. Really great push coming out of WyrmWind here. They're very much in this game if they can just hold off Night Sharks long enough.
Absolutely, but Night Sharks now taking full control of mid after what is effectively a wipe on the side of the WyrmWind. Kraken already online for the Night Sharks, as well as that Zipcaster. 2 very aggressive specials that they're going to be able to use to get into the enemy's base. 4 specials now ready, as Night Sharks are looking to make this push happen fast.
Yeah, with 4 specials online, Night Sharks just goes in full force to WyrmWind, right up to their basket. But the Tetras managed to pick off. The Tetras managed to effectively wipe Night Sharks, and they don't get past 70. With 2 minutes left on the clock, WyrmWind very well might take the game for themselves. Tetras go down in mid, and it looks like with 2 down on the side of WyrmWind, they're going to be forced to give some space to Night Sharks. But yeah, Night Sharks getting into their streak, but they don't have enough clams to score yet.
Yeah, they do have that free clam waiting back in their basket, which they do grab. And the Kraken is online. Harding finding a nice pick there on the junior. That bubble going to be shredded almost immediately. But I believe it's a flank from, I think it's the NZAP that takes out that 52 gal. And oh, it's the Tetras. Okay, that makes more sense. The Tetras go on that flank, get a pick. But the Charger says no, takes them down, but the push is already stopped.
Both teams back in mid here. We're in a bit of a neutral phase of the match. Time is ticking on Night Sharks to make a push. And they get the double on WyrmWind. This might just be what they need to get the lead back to themselves. The Brush flanking takes out one on Night Sharks, but with 3 of WyrmWind respawning, they aren't giving up yet.
Yeah, WyrmWind looking to make a finally, I was about to say finally a strong push, but 2 go down to bomb. That Zipcatcher getting cancelled. Night Sharks is not going to be able to make much happen off of this push. The only player left alive being that 52 gal gets double teamed. Less than a minute on the clock, as WyrmWind is now taking full mid control with the Brush on that top mid, looking to find a pick if they can. It is looking dire here for the Night Sharks.
And with specials online for WyrmWind, going after that sniper, trying to keep them pushed back in their spawn. Unfortunately, the Brush goes down, leaving 2 up on WyrmWind in the last 30 seconds of the game. Night Sharks slowly inching their way closer to the basket, getting a really good pick on Tetras from Army here. And with more specials online, they might be able to take this in overtime.
Yeah, 2 specials online, 2 players down for the WyrmWind. But the Stamper goes down, looks like the NZAP not able to find that last pick that they needed. But the Tetras coming in from behind, might be able to get a pick here, gets a trade out. But there's too many clams online, and the Night Sharks take the game in overtime and take the set 4-0.
I was on the edge of my seat in those last couple seconds. That was a really, really good overtime push coming out of Night Sharks. They just threw their specials full force right at WyrmWind's basket, just coordinated them, creating the perfect opening to just go in and score with their power clams. Really great gameplay out of both teams in that game. Night Sharks might have taken the set 4-0, but I think WyrmWind is very capable of putting on a good showing in Div 1 in this upcoming season. And of course, I'm excited to see what Night Sharks pulls out too. Like I said, they got 2nd place in Season 1 last season. Right? Right.
Yes.
Wait. Div 1. Yeah. Okay. Well, we still get to see how I think, okay, that's some new context right there. I think WyrmWind, while they might not be able to take the set, I think they're still more than capable of taking the game. We'll just see how that plays out.
Yeah, so as is CCA tradition, even though the set is over here at 4-0, both teams have agreed to play the rest of the matches out. So we do get to see a bit more of these teams coming here against each other. What I'd like to acknowledge is that on that last game, on that Clan Blitz game, every time that the Night Sharks had a push stopped, it was because somebody flanked on the side of the WyrmWind and got behind them and got a kill. And really the big reason why the Night Sharks were able to get that final push that won in overtime was because they were finally able to stop those flanks and just have the entirety of WyrmWind in front of them, and that's exactly what their entire team wanted to do. So just really like to commend both the WyrmWind and the Night Sharks for amazing strategic play there. But yes, we are going to be able to see 3 more games here.
And the more the merrier. Really good action out of those first 4 games, and even if there's no set win at stake here, I think it's just exciting to see more college Splatoon action out here tonight.
For sure. I think we're going to be getting set up here to play. I'm going to double check what this next map is going to be. Looks like Game 5 is Splat Zone's Brinewater Springs, which is certainly an interesting map mode, a very, very long-range favorite. The last time I saw a team play this map mode, it was almost a complete sweep in favor of one team who managed to get a quick opening wipe and just stay in their opponent's spawn for the rest of the game. So I'm curious to see if the Night Sharks are just going to pull that exact same trick against the WyrmWind here on this map.
Definitely. We've seen that they can set up for really strong lockouts. And as you said, Brine Water is just, if you can push your advantage strong enough in the opening push, then you might take the game in one fell swoop. So it'll be really interesting to see how Night Sharks plays their cards to see if they can get that clean win right off the bat.
Yeah, I think I'm expecting that we're probably going to see a Charger and as that 96 from the side of the WyrmWind, um, as they're of course the Charger, almost an essential pick on Brine Water, especially on zones. And the Kraken can be a great way to push out of your own spawn if you get locked down because of that invulnerability. As long as they can stay alive long enough to build it. So I think that's probably what's going to happen from both teams. That we're going to see a 96 and a Charger of some kind, whether it be E-Leader or ZF Charger, it remains to be seen.
Personally, I think it could go either way, because while E-Leader has the main weapon advantage on ZNF, ZNF just has such a great kit to deal with other backlines. So even if it's an E-Leader versus a ZNF, if that ZNF has its special and its splash wall online, the leader can't really touch it.
And apparently we have just been raided by K-Bot, so thank you K-Bot for bringing on your viewers to the stream. This is an exciting set here between, for those of you who are just joining, between the Night Sharks, second place of Division 1 last season, and the WyrmWind, who got second place in Division 2 last season. Night Sharks currently up 4-0 in this best of 7, meaning that they have taken the set, but it has been a lot of close games so far, and these teams have agreed to play out the full 7 sets. So we do get to see a few more games here from these teams, and we've just been talking about what we expect to see here on Splat Zone's Brine Water.
Yeah, going into Zone's Brine Water, the teams are taking a little bit to get set up, but I think this is I think this map mode really does lend itself well to, just letting, it lets both teams show off their, like, I'm sorry, I'm struggling to put it into words here, but it's definitely a really great way for teams to just show their general awareness of just the map. There's that one sneaky, the sneaky right off left of your spawn. That's like a really important spot to watch. I know a lot of short-range weapons like to go in there. They like to cause some havoc, a little mischief. And if your team's not watching that spot, they can just go in and really mess you up. But Game 5 is starting. Let's see what they pull out on us.
Alright, looks like from the Night Sharks we are getting that E-Leader. No 96 like I had predicted. No 96 from either side. Instead we have E-Leaders from both sides. The Carbon Deco, a weapon we haven't seen the entire set, also coming out here from the WyrmWind, as well as that Nova, which we only saw on Game 1, which was also Splat Zones.
I would also like to point out the Stamper coming from, is that Night Sharks or WyrmWind Stamper?
That is WyrmWind there in the purple.
What one? That Stamper is a really strong weapon on this map just because of Zipcaster and the way it can get behind backline. Like, it could just take that lead, like we saw right there. It took the leader's sights straight off of the zone. Unfortunately, he went in a little head on there and just got picked off pretty easily. Night Sharks has their specials online, and it looks like they're flushing WyrmWind out of mid. But both teams, it's a 2v2 situation, so both teams are still in the game.
Yeah, that Stamper getting caught out there on that left side of the map by the Charger and by the 10 attack. T-Tech almost having their strike ready, gonna be able to push in with that as soon as they get it. The E-Leader goes down, a huge kick from the Night Sharks there. Very important to be able to get that backline down. Now 2 down, 3 versus 2 here for the Night Sharks versus the WyrmWind.
Yes, with WyrmWind still 3 down effectively, they're really going to have to play patiently if they want to get back to the mid. Unfortunately for WyrmWind, Night Sharks gets another wipe on them. That might be game for Night Sharks right there. it's going to be very hard for WyrmWind to build up the special and the man coordination they need to get back in that zone. And that is game 5 going to Night Sharks. Really good play from them, keeping WyrmWind locked out. Really good special coordination to just push their advantage, get deeper in, get the positions they needed to just deny WyrmWind the space.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of shout out the play that the Tenatyke made, dragging 2 of WyrmWind's players out from their spawn and down onto the left flank, where they immediately used triple ink strike to catch them off as they fell because they couldn't move out of the way. Even though they traded out, it was still a 2-for-1 trade that led to a perfect spawn camp from the Night Sharks, taking this game 5 on Splat Zone's Growing Water Springs.
A little bit of bait and switch there coming out of the T-Tech. On really tall ledges like that, we just see some let's call it extreme sharking, you know?
Looks like we're now going to go to tower control on Flounder Heights. Flounder Heights, in my opinion, being one of the best modes, or being one of the best maps in the game currently because it has some form of a flanking option. Although tower control, not exactly my favorite mode for this map, but considering how snowbally it can be. What are your thoughts here for tower control Flounder?
I think it'll definitely, well, we'll probably see a lot of that long range again, because if you manage to get an E-leader set up on tower on second check, then he just has a straight shot right into your opponent's spawn. We've been seeing a lot of bubble coming out of both teams too here, and that can just be so oppressive on tower control and on a snowbally map like Flounder.
For sure, and we do see Grace swapping back into this game. Might be playing either Junior or Tri. Tri being a very good pick on this map and having become much more popular since 20XX.
Definitely. I think a lot of people are starting to realize that Tri is just a really strong main weapon. So even without a super great kit, it can really wreak some havoc on especially a lot of mid-range weapons like Splash. Tri has a really good matchup against the main weapon of Splash, and I think as people tap into that more, we could see some really exciting shifts happen out on the playing field.
Absolutely. And of course, Flounder just being a great map for the weapon, with all that verticality to use, and a couple of cheeky little flank routes to make use of. Just really an advantageous map for the weapon. We have seen Tri-Slasher come out from both teams on tower control in the past, so I'm thinking we might actually see that again.
A little bit of a Tri-Slosher mirror match. We love to see it. I'm interested to see what approach they take with their chargers. Are they just going to pull out another leader, or will they opt for the ZNF again? We've seen that the ZNF is a really strong pick, especially on Night Sharks, using those tri-strikes to push their advantage and the splash wall to maintain space.
Absolutely. I think there are some teams who would prefer not to bring a charger on this map because it can have trouble in kind of the neutral time. But as I say that, we do see charger coming out from the Night Sharks here. No charger, instead opting for a 96 and brush comp here on the WyrmWind.
With the 96 deco on both teams again, we're going to be seeing a lot of Kraken on tower. That's just a really strong strategy, having that vulnerable special. Right off the bat though, WyrmWind goes 2 down, but their brush gets a triple right in trench right there. So if they manage to keep that ZNF pinned over in Garden, and they pick it off too, WyrmWind is off to a really strong start for their opening push.
Absolutely. The brush here having their special ready, as well as that 96 deco having Kraken ready to go. Tri doesn't manage to trade out, unfortunately, for that Stamper. Stamper now going to be able to get in, get behind their opponents. The only player left on the WyrmWind is that Tenatyke who goes down. WyrmWind now having the checkpoint advantage and being in the lead, but Night Sharks gearing up for a strong push here, guarding that left wall because they saw the Tri going there.
And with the Stamper's zip online, he's gonna go for some aggressive picks here, trying to really create space ahead of the tower. And he succeeds. WyrmWind going 3 down. Night Sharks is gonna take the lead, and they might even get checkpoint number 2 off of this.
Absolutely. WyrmWind currently in a stagger as their players come back and die. Looks like I believe it's the 52, just running around in that kind of pit area there, getting kills left and right. The splash wall having been set up on the top right to prevent WyrmWind from being able to apply pressure from there. The Night Sharks just in a full lockout mode here, almost ready to take this game.
Almost ready to take this game, but with a 4v2 situation in favor of WyrmWind, the game isn't over yet. It looks like they're rolling back out to mid, they're getting the picks they need. And they have the special advantage too.
Yeah, but as we say that, the 96 who is close to Kraken goes down to that DF charger. The WyrmWind now 2 down, 96 having just respawned. As the Brush is looking to make some sort of distraction play here for the WyrmWind, trying to delay that push a little bit longer. Trades out for the 52 gal on the side of the Night Sharks.
The game's still in a very neutral position here. Both teams are even numbers. And it looks like we're gonna see the 96 get a nice pick on Stamper there. I'm sorry, that's a T-Tech. T-Tech gets a nice pick on Stamper and a double getting the opposing 52 gal. With specials online from WyrmWind, it looks like they might be able to get some momentum rolling for them here.
Yeah, only one special left, but as I say that, oh, the Stamper in a nice striking position gets the pick on the Tenatech. It's now 2-2 for each team. I believe that is now 1-1. The only players left alive being the Brush and the Stamper. Stamper managing to camp the Brush's jump back from their Zipcaster. Night Sharks denying that push as soon as they got to that second checkpoint.
We've been seeing a lot of good play out of Night Shark's Stamper here. They just really have the range advantage on a lot of WyrmWind, and they've been using and abusing their angles and the height advantage. We've been seeing a lot of nice aggressive picks come out of them here. Now, it looks like Night Sharks picks off 3 of WyrmWind in mid, but with that tacticaler, they'll be right back in the action.
Yeah, you can see that the 96 already has that Kraken ready, and as I say that, they do use it. Going to be trying to find a pick here, but not able to find anything, just opting to ride the tower instead. Going to fight that, oh, but it's full life on the WyrmWind. With only a minute left on the clock, and Night Shark's already in the lead. The Kraken is ready. The Whale is used. Both of the gals are down now in their opponent's spawn, as the 52 does go down, because he didn't have any teammates help. The ball delaying that Kraken for a little bit longer, but not able to delay for long enough. The Brush being the last member alive here on the WyrmWind gets taken down with the only 5 picks left for. Oh, but the tower is stopped.
The tower stopped in its tracks, but it looks like that isn't enough. With the 52 on tower, he manages to hold it just long enough to finish off those 4 points. Night Sharks takes the game.
Night Sharks showing why they're the favorite to win the tournament here, with a very dominant showing over the last few games. Only 1 game left for WyrmWind to try and take something off of them, and this game will be taking place on Rainmaker Undertow.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is game 7. This is the last of the set, right?
One. Yes.
Last of the set. Let's see what both teams pull out here in a final hurrah for the week 1 of CCA. Really exciting opening week here, and I'm sure there are 5 more to come.
Absolutely. Rainmaker Undertow Spillway, a map that I'm not exactly a fan favorite of. Or that's not the phrase, but we're gonna roll with it anyway. But I'm curious to see
I get what you mean. It's go on. I'm sorry, I cut you off there.
No worries. Yeah, this map being one that, of course, is a pretty decent map outside of that mid area. Having those two push options, the right push being very, very risky, only really useful if you get a full wipe on your opponents. The left push being far easier to defend, but also not giving you nearly as many points for most of that left side curve as you come around towards the checkpoint. So it'll be interesting to see how these teams plan to tackle this map.
We've seen Night Sharks are more than capable of keeping their opponent in a really strong lockout. So if they manage to get positioned ahead, far enough ahead of the Rainmaker, it might actually be worth it for them to use that right push route.
Absolutely, and for the WyrmWind, they're probably going to want to take this a bit slower with that left push option when they get the chance, because that'll let them have time to build their specials and stall out the Rainmaker for a bit longer on that left side of the map when they're pushing, so that they can move in and with their specials and take down the Night Sharks and get this victory.
Definitely, definitely. Also, I find that with the middle of the map just being one giant glorified choke point, it'll be interesting to see what specials they pull out to try and brute force their way through it. More than likely, I don't doubt that we're going to be seeing more Krakens and 96 Decos, but what'll be really interesting to me is if what kind of anchor they're gonna opt for. Are they gonna opt for anchorless like we saw in game 1 on Night Sharks, I believe? Or are they gonna pull out that ZNF that they've been running hereafter?
I think it's very likely that we're going to see that ZNF Charger, as Charger is a very oppressive force on this map, especially in that mid area. Uh, and with that triple ink strike allowing their team to push, could be a very viable option here. But instead, opting for the E leader on the side of the Night Sharks and a backlineless comp from the WyrmWind, although the Kraken is still here in the form of the Crack-On Roller.
Really interesting pick there. I would actually like to see if they use the beacons on the Crack-On roller. They use the Kraken to get behind enemy lines and then set up beacons to just have that constant presence in Night Shark spawn. But Night Sharks taking the advantage 4-2 here right off the bat. They're opting for the left push, but they're going to play it safe. And with that zone relatively uncontested, they might get check off of this first touch.
Yeah, I was curious because we did see the beacon put up on that back left corner by the Crack-On roller at the beginning of the game, but the Nova correctly spotted it out and was able to camp the jump that the Kraken was trying to make. That being said, the Crack-On comes in, gets 2 picks, and it's a full wipeout. Night Sharks only getting 9 points, and that's the danger of the left side push, is that for about half that push until the checkpoint, you don't get anything. And now WyrmWind has a clear opportunity to take the lead as the Nova goes down.
Unfortunately, Night Sharks gets the wipe. Their E-leader getting some nice picks there. They're gonna have mostly free reign to run it right up to checkpoint, and it looks like that is checkpoint 1. With WyrmWind down by 2 members, they're gonna be looking to push their advantage even further. They pick the zip, and with that crab tank set up right in the direction of the Rainmaker wants to push him, they're going to go far with this one, no doubt.
Absolutely. Another pick comes out from the Rainmaker onto that junior. Oh, the Reef Slider coming in behind the Rainmaker, getting a nice pick, able to stall that push for a little bit longer. The player advantage now in favor of the WyrmWind as the Rainmaker goes down again. Oh, wait. I think I got that wrong. Either way, it is still stalled out here on the unequal path. Night Sharks going to be having a bit of trouble pushing this, but it's only 1 player left.
It looks like that is the game going to Night Sharks. Yeah. They had WyrmWind staggered, and WyrmWind was getting some picks of their own on Night Sharks, but what we've seen from earlier Rainmaker games in the set is that once Night Sharks get set up in a spot, it is really hard to flush them out. They're really good at just maintaining their hold and using the survivability of their weapons to keep their ground.
Yeah, and I'd love to talk about these teams a bit more, but we are almost out of time here as we have another match coming up in just a couple of minutes. Um, so, with that, we're going to be wrapping up here. Once again, I've been Jay Slosh. You can joining me has been Rafi.
Hi, yeah, I'm Rafi. Thanks for having me. It's been a fun time commentating tonight. Um, if you want to find me on my socials by any chance for any ungodly reason, you can find me on Twitter at lrafi. Just my tag on screen, but with the L swapped around to the beginning. Is it on screen actually? I don't
No.
know. Not important.
I'm sure they'll be able to find you. It's not a very it's a very memorable tag is what I'm trying to say.
That
And of course you can find me as well on Twitter at jslosh, as well as on YouTube at the same handle. Thank you all for tuning in today. We've got one more match coming up for you. We're very excited to see this one play out, and we're gonna hand it over here.